So you're thinking about moving to Boise, Idaho, or even one of the surrounding cities like Meridian, Eagle, or Nampa. Well, what are the pros and cons of living in the Boise, Idaho area? Let's take a dive in. Before we get started with the pros and cons, I'm Isaac Crace. I'm a 4th generation Idahoan and 3rd generation Realtor here in the Boise area. So if you are one of the many people thinking about making the move to the beautiful Boise, Idaho area, hit me up and I would love to help you out. So what are the pros and cons of moving to the Boise, Idaho area? It can be kind of hard to make a pros and cons list because for some people the pros may be cons and for others the cons may be pros. But regardless, here are my top pros of living in the Boise, Idaho area. So my number one pro for living in the Boise, Idaho area is outdoor recreation. Idaho is one of the best places for outdoorsmen and outdoors women. We have so much opportunity for people who love to be outside because 66% of the state is public land, over half the state being public land. And that gives us tons of opportunities like hiking in the foothills. We have tons of trails that go in the foothills around Boise, and all around the valley we have BLM, National Forest, State of Idaho. Many people like to walk their dogs in the foothills, go for jogs, or just take hikes in the foothills. The Boise Greenbelt is the biggest greenbelt in the Boise area. It starts all the way up by Lucky Peak and runs about 30 miles down past Eagle, right next to the Boise River. So people go scootering, marathoning, walking their dogs, bicycling, tons of stuff, or even just walking. We also have tons of parks here in the Boise area. In Nampa alone, we have almost 30 parks, around 27. There's like some unwritten rule about when you move to Idaho in regards to outdoor recreation. I don't know a single person here who doesn't own either a dirt bike or a four-wheeler or a boat or a jet ski or a mountain bike. Like, you have to have something because everybody is always outside enjoying the outdoors. Because of our access to public land, Idaho has some world-class hunting opportunities, from the ducks and the geese on the Snake River or the elk in the Rocky Mountains. We also have tons of opportunity for fishing here in the state, whether it's at Lucky Peak or the Boise River, Lake Lowell, or the Snake River, as well as camping. If you're not into hunting or fishing, just being outdoors in the forests or in the desert, camping, some people love to do that. My second pro of living in the Boise, Idaho area is people are so friendly. I was born and raised in the area, so I'm acclimated to it, and it's a bit of a culture shock for me when I go other places that aren't Boise, Idaho. I mean, around here, people hold the door for you. Just walking down the street, people ask you how you're doing, how your day has been. And even small things like waving at your neighbors when you drive by or just waving at people when you're driving down the road. So if you want to fit in, be sure to be friendly and wave at your neighbors. My number 3 pro is politics in the state, and that's a big reason why many people are moving to the state. Idaho tends to lean towards the more conservative side when it comes to politics. In the last presidential elections, all the way since Lyndon B. Johnson's elections in 1964, Idaho has voted for the Republican candidate in each presidential election. My 4th pro of living in the Boise, Idaho area is the cost of living. Idaho is super cheap when it comes to utilities like irrigation, natural gas, and electricity. For instance, with irrigation on a standard size lot, you're going to be looking at about $200 for the entire year, unlimited water for irrigation. As for gas, in a 1,500 square foot house, you're going to be looking at about $50 a month. And then electricity, depending on what your comfort levels are in a 1,500 square foot house, you're probably looking anywhere from $100 to $200 a month. And when it comes to registering your cars, Idaho is still pretty cheap. For instance, I have an early 2000s Jeep, and it cost me about $64 to register it for a year. Now, there can be a lot of differences when it comes to big trucks and other stuff in between. For instance, I have quite a few classic pickups, and to register my classic pickups for a 3-year plate, it only runs me about $80 for the 3 years. So that's really cheap for registration. Idaho also has super low property taxes and income taxes. The next pro is safety. Idaho is among the top 3 safest states in the entire U.S. to live in 2021. And among those, Middleton, Meridian, and Emmett were Idaho's safest cities in 2021. So why is Idaho so safe? Well, a lot of people attribute it to our next pro on the list, and that is guns. Idahoans love their guns and the Second Amendment, so it is no surprise that Idaho has the 4th highest gun ownership in the entire U.S. So if this is a con to you, you might want to reconsider a move to the Boise area. Not to sound too rash, but if that is a con to you, Idahoans love our guns. We love our guns for hunting and the Second Amendment. So if guns, dead animals, that kind of stuff is a con to you, then Boise area probably isn't going to be the best fit for you, or even Idaho in general. If you would like some more information on this topic about Idaho and how its gun laws work, I have made a video and I'll link it right here. The next pro of living in the Boise area is schooling. Idaho has tons of opportunity for schooling. We've got public schools, private schools, charter schools, and in the last couple years, we've added about 5 high schools in the valley. We've got tons of opportunities for higher education, whether it be trade schools or colleges. We've got Boise State University, Northwest Nazarene University, College of Idaho, College of Western Idaho, to name a few of the colleges here in the Boise area. And the last of the pros, I'm not going to touch on a whole lot separately. I'm just going to mash them all together. Idaho has among the lowest unemployment rate in the whole entire nation, about half the national average. We've got tons of big corporations coming into the valley, and we've actually had an Amazon distribution center come into Nampa just off the Garrity exit, which employs thousands of people, and I do believe that they're going to be making another distribution center here in the valley. We have 4 distinct seasons here in the valley when it comes to weather. We have springtime with the rain and the flowers, and then in the summer, we have our hot, dry summer days. We don't get hardly any rain during the summer, and we hardly have any days that are over 100 degrees in the middle of the summer. Some years we have none, some years we have like a week or 2 weeks, but it never goes over 100 degrees for too long. We have the gorgeous fall colors around the valley with all the reds and the yellows, all the changing colors of the leaves and the cool weather, and we have our snowy winters on occasion. Idaho has no natural disasters. We have no tornadoes. We have no hurricanes. We have no floods. So all these pros, there's got to be some cons about Idaho, and there absolutely are. So I'm going to go over them right now. So the first con on the list is going to be public transportation, or lack thereof. In Idaho, in the Boise area specifically, we don't have a whole lot of public transportation, and what we do have is very limited to certain routes, which snowballs into the second con, and that is traffic. The Boise area is built on quite a grid system, actually. It's really hard to get lost. We have one freeway, the interstate, I-84, and everything else is on country blocks, mile blocks, so it's really hard to get lost. Every road essentially leads to Boise or anywhere you're trying to go. And because of the lack of transportation and this grid system, and the fact that Idaho isn't used to this many people, our roads are getting really backed up, and the city is having tons and tons and tons of growing pains because of it. Our roads simply can't handle the excess traffic. Driving from one side of town to the other side of town, for me in particular, to go see my grandparents, a drive that used to take 10 minutes 3 years ago now takes about half an hour if I'm lucky and I can get through the traffic. And the blend of out-of-state driving styles and the Idaho driving styles are clashing and creating a bit of an issue. In Idaho, we have a lot of 4-way stops, and just like our people are friendly, we're very generous on the road, and some people can get quite impatient with that, as we've seen with out-of-state driving influences coming into the state. So we're getting a lot of aggressive driving, and those 2 different driving styles are clashing quite hard. The third con is going to be housing prices. Yes, the cat is out of the bag. Boise, Idaho is a great place to move, and the houses are cheap, or were cheap. Some of the people coming from out of state, they are cheap. But for locals living in the Boise area, houses are unaffordable now for people living off the median wage, and it's among the worst in the nation. We are the most overpriced market for the wages in the area. So locals who have been here for so long really are having a hard time getting into houses, and that applies to the rental market too in the area. The next con is Boise is high desert, and for some people this might not be a con, but for others moving into the area, people are quite taken back when I tell them that the city of trees actually doesn't have a whole lot of trees outside of town where it's not irrigated. Yes, we have high desert and desert soil, which is very fertile, and when we irrigate it, it is a great place for trees to grow, but when there's no irrigation, there are no trees. We just have a lot of sagebrush. So a lot of people are shocked by that. The next con is isolation. The Boise area of Idaho is quite isolated. We have mountains all the way around us. We have one freeway coming in and one going out for the most part, I-84. And especially when it comes to our airport, I love our little Boise airport, but it's not an international airport. So if you're going to do any big flights, you have to go to either SeaTac or Salt Lake City to catch a connecting flight to go to farther places. So it's a little bit inconvenient if you're going to be going on a big trip, but for some people, it's not a problem. And the next con is the growth. Idaho and the Boise area in particular is growing super fast. We can't handle all the growth. Our infrastructure can't handle it. It's not planned to handle it. It's just a farming community. We have a lot of 2-lane roads. So all the influence coming into the state is having an impact on our roads, the housing prices. Fields that used to be fields are now neighborhoods. I'm not that old. I'm in my 20s, and fields that I used to hunt in are now neighborhoods for many, many years. So there's growing pains in every single aspect of life. And all the space that we're sharing, Idahoans aren't used to sharing that. We have a lot of public land, but the more people coming in want to enjoy that public land, so it is more crowded than it used to be. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, or if I missed something or a con, or if you have any opinion, drop it in the comments down below, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's video. Until then, I'm Isaac Crace with Top Idaho Real Estate, your third generation Idaho Realtor.